Time is flowing around you right now, carrying you forward moment by moment. You can feel it in the rhythm of your breathing, in the gentle rise and fall of your chest, in the way thoughts drift through your mind, like clouds moving slowly across the sky. But what is time exactly? This question has occupied the minds of philosophers for thousands of years, and as you lie here in the quiet darkness, we can explore it together, slowly and peacefully, letting the ideas wash over you like waves on a distant shore. Consider for a moment the present moment, this very now that you are experiencing. It seems real enough. You are here, reading or listening to these words, feeling your body resting against the surface beneath you, perhaps noticing the temperature of the air or distant sounds in the background. This present moment is immediate and vivid. It is where you live, where experience happens. And yet, the present moment is also strangely elusive. As soon as you try to grasp it, to pin it down, it has already slipped into the past. The now that was here a moment ago is gone, replaced by a new now, which will itself disappear in an instant. This flowing quality of time is something we all experience constantly, and yet it remains deeply mysterious. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus said you cannot step in the same river twice, because the river is always changing, always flowing, never the same from one moment to the next. And he was right in a way. The water that was there a moment ago has moved downstream. New water has taken its place. The river is constant in form, but ever-changing in substance. And time is like this too, perhaps. Always flowing, always moving, carrying us forward whether we want to go or not. But where does time flow from, and where does it flow to? The past seems to exist in memory, in the traces it has left behind. You remember yesterday, you remember last year, you remember moments from your childhood. These memories feel real, feel like they belong to you, feel like they are part of who you are. And yet, the moments themselves are gone. The past no longer exists in the same way the present does. It has slipped away into something else, some realm of no longer being. And the future has not yet arrived. It exists only as possibility, as potential, as something that might happen, but has not yet become real. So the present moment, this now, seems to be the only time that truly exists. The past is gone, and the future is not yet here, which leaves only this razor-thin instant of now. But how thin is it? How long does the present moment last? A second? A fraction of a second? Some philosophers have argued that the present moment has no duration at all, that it is merely the boundary between past and future, an infinitely thin dividing line with no thickness of its own. If this is true, then in some sense the present does not really exist either. It is just the place where the future becomes the past, a transition point with no substance of its own. This leads to a strange conclusion. If the past no longer exists, and the future does not yet exist, and the present has no duration, then perhaps time itself does not really exist. Perhaps it is an illusion, a construct of the mind, a way of organizing experience that does not correspond to anything real in the external world. This view might seem troubling at first, but as you lie here in the darkness, letting your body relax more deeply, you might find something peaceful in it. If time is not quite real, then perhaps you need not worry so much about the past or the future. Perhaps you can simply rest in this moment, however thin or fleeting it might be, and let everything else dissolve. The ancient Greek philosopher Parmenides believed something like this. He argued that change is impossible, that what truly exists must be eternal and unchanging. All this apparent movement and flow, all this coming into being and passing away, is merely appearance, he said. Reality itself is timeless, permanent, whole. Time, in this view, is something that belongs to the world of appearances, the world of the senses, which is not the true reality. True reality is beyond time, untouched by change, eternal and still. You can almost feel this eternal stillness if you let yourself sink into the present moment deeply enough. When you stop straining toward the future or dwelling on the past, when you simply rest in the here and now, there is a quality of timelessness to experience. The now does not move. It is always now. Only the contents of now change. Thoughts come and go, sensations arise and fade, but the present moment itself remains, constant and unchanging. Perhaps this is what Parmenides glimpsed, this eternal now that underlies all change, this stillness at the heart of time's apparent flow. But most philosophers have found this denial of time difficult to accept. Our experience of time seems too fundamental, too inescapable to be merely illusory. We age, we remember, we plan for the future. Events happen in sequence, one after another. Causes precede their effects. All of this seems to require real time, actual flow, genuine change. So if time is real, what exactly is it? How should we understand its nature? One of the most influential answers came from another ancient Greek philosopher, Aristotle, who thought carefully about time's relationship to change and motion. Aristotle suggested that time is the measure of change. Where there is change, there is time. Where there is no change, there is no time. Time, in this view, is not something that exists independently. It is always time of something, time measured by the movement of the sun across the sky, by the beating of a heart, by the aging of a body. Without things changing, without motion and transformation, there would be no time at all. This view makes time dependent on the physical world, on matter and motion and change. And in some ways, this seems right. When you imagine a universe without any change, a perfectly static universe where nothing moves and nothing happens, it becomes difficult to say whether time is passing in such a universe. How would you measure it? What would it mean for time to pass if nothing changed? Perhaps time requires change, requires events, requires things happening in succession. As your breathing continues its gentle rhythm, as you feel yourself sinking deeper into relaxation, you might notice that your sense of time is changing. When you are busy and active, time seems to move quickly. Hours pass in what feels like minutes. But when you are very relaxed, very still, time seems to slow down. Each moment stretches out, becomes more spacious. The breath moves slowly. Thoughts drift by like clouds in a summer sky. This subjective quality of time, this way it seems to speed up and slow down depending on our state of mind, is another aspect of time's mystery. The philosopher Augustine, who lived in the late Roman Empire, was deeply troubled by the nature of time. He asked himself what time is, and found that when he did not think about it, he knew perfectly well what time was. But when he tried to explain it, when he tried to put it into words, he became confused. How can we measure time, he wondered, if the past no longer exists, and the future does not yet exist, and the present has no duration? We seem to measure the past, but we cannot measure what no longer exists. We seem to anticipate the future, but we cannot measure what has not yet come to be. Augustine's solution was to suggest that time exists primarily in the mind, in the soul. What we call the past is really present memory. What we call the future is really present expectation. And what we call the present is present attention. All three exist now, in this moment, as different modes of consciousness. When you remember yesterday, the remembering is happening now. When you anticipate tomorrow, the anticipating is happening now. Time, in this view, is something the mind creates, a way the soul organizes and experiences the sequence of events. This idea that time is somehow mental, somehow dependent on consciousness, has recurred throughout the history of philosophy. If time requires a perspective, a point of view from which past and future are distinguished, then perhaps time depends on minds, on beings capable of experience. Without consciousness to differentiate past from future, to remember and anticipate, would there still be time? Or would there just be events, occurring in some order perhaps, but without any meaningful difference between earlier and later? You need not try to answer these questions. Let them simply float through your awareness, like the questions themselves are clouds, present for a moment and then drifting on. The search for answers can wait for another time. Right now, in this peaceful darkness, you can simply rest with the mystery, can let time be what it is without needing to fully understand it. There is a certain comfort in acknowledging that some things remain mysterious, that time continues to flow whether we comprehend it or not. The flow of time has a direction, something philosophers call the arrow of time. Time moves from past to future, never in the reverse direction. We remember the past and anticipate the future, never the other way around. Causes precede effects. We grow older, never younger. Broken things do not spontaneously reassemble themselves. This asymmetry of time, this difference between past and future, is so fundamental to our experience that we rarely even notice it. But it raises interesting questions. Why does time have a direction? What makes the future different from the past? Physics tells us that at the most fundamental level, the laws of nature do not distinguish between past and future. The equations that govern the behavior of particles work just as well, running backward in time as forward. And yet in the larger world, the world we inhabit, there is clearly a difference between past and future. Things tend to become more disordered over time, not more ordered. Heat flows from hot to cold, never the reverse. Complex structures decay into simpler ones. This tendency toward disorder, called entropy, seems to give time its arrow, its direction. But even this physical explanation does not fully capture the experiential quality of time's flow. When you remember the past, it feels fundamentally different from imagining the future. The past has a kind of fixedness, a determinateness. It happened in a particular way and cannot now be changed. The future, by contrast, feels open, undetermined, full of possibility. This difference is not just about our knowledge or lack of knowledge. It seems to be something deeper, something about the nature of time itself. The past is settled, the future is not yet written. Or is it? Some philosophers have argued that the future is just as fixed and determined as the past, that our feeling of openness and possibility is illusory. If the laws of nature are deterministic, if the present state of the universe completely determines all future states, then the future is already set, already decided, even if we do not know what it will be. In this view, time is like a road that already exists in its entirety, stretching from past to future, and we are simply traveling along it, experiencing each moment in sequence as we come to it. This is sometimes called the block universe view of time, because it imagines all of time laid out together like a four-dimensional block, with past, present, and future all equally real, all equally existing, just in different locations within the block. You are moving through this block, experiencing moment after moment, but the moments themselves are all there, all real, all existing. Your future moments already exist, just as your past moments still exist. You are simply not experiencing them now because now you are here, in this particular moment, this particular location within the block. This view might seem strange, might seem to contradict our deep intuition that the future is open and the past is gone. But some physicists and philosophers find it compelling because it fits well with Einstein's theory of relativity, which treats time as a dimension similar to space, woven together with space into a four-dimensional space-time. In this framework, the distinction between past, present, and future is not absolute, but depends on your frame of reference, on how you are moving through space-time. What is present for you might be past or future, for someone else moving at a different velocity. As you continue to rest here, feeling your body becoming heavier and more relaxed, you might imagine yourself as existing not just in this moment, but spread out through time, like a four-dimensional being with one end in your birth and another end in your death, and all the moments in between connected in an unbroken line. This version of you exists all at once in the block universe view, even though the conscious you experiences only one moment at a time, moving through your life like a spotlight, moving along a path. But other philosophers reject this block universe view and insist that the present moment is special, is uniquely real in a way that past and future are not. In this view, called presentism, only the present exists. The past has ceased to be, and the future has not yet become. Reality is constantly being created and destroyed, moment by moment. The universe is not a static block, but a dynamic process, with existence concentrated in the ever-moving now. There is something appealing about this view, something that matches our felt experience of life. Right now feels more real than yesterday or tomorrow. This moment is where you are, where experience is happening, where existence is concentrated. The past is gone, the future unborn. Only now has the full weight of reality. And if this is true, then time is not just a dimension, like space, but something fundamentally different, something that involves genuine creation and destruction, genuine becoming and passing away. Between these two views, between the block universe where all time exists together and presentism where only the present exists, lies a middle position called the growing block view. According to this perspective, the past and present are real, but the future is not yet real. The universe is like a block that is constantly growing, adding new layers of reality as the present moment advances into the future. What was future becomes present and then becomes past, each transition adding to the accumulated reality of what has been. The future remains open, undetermined, genuinely not yet existing, while the past accumulates behind us, settled and fixed. This view tries to honor both our sense that the past is real, that it genuinely happened and cannot be undone, and our sense that the future is open, that it has not yet occurred and might unfold in various ways. It gives time a real direction, a genuine flow from past toward future, from what is settled to what is still undetermined, and it suggests that the present moment is special, is the growing edge of reality, the place where the universe is actively creating itself. You need not choose between these views. They are different ways of trying to make sense of time's mystery, different metaphors that each capture something about our experience, while perhaps missing something else. The important thing is not to have the right answer, but to let these perspectives wash over you, to contemplate them lightly, without grasping or straining. Time continues whether we understand it or not, carrying you gently toward sleep, toward rest, toward the dissolution of waking consciousness into dreams. The relationship between time and consciousness is particularly intimate. Your experience of time is always from within time, never from outside it. You cannot step out of time to observe it objectively, the way you might observe a spatial object from different angles. You are always in time, always experiencing the present moment, always moving from past toward future. This inseparability of consciousness and time has led some philosophers to suggest that time might be more dependent on consciousness than we usually think. Immanuel Kant, the great German philosopher, argued that time is not a feature of reality in itself, but rather a form of human intuition, a way our minds necessarily structure experience. We cannot experience anything except as happening in time, in sequence, with before and after, and duration. But this does not mean that reality itself is temporal. It might be that time is something our minds impose on reality in order to make sense of it, a lens through which we view the world, but not a feature of the world itself. This idea might seem radical, but there is something to it. All of your experiences happen in time. You cannot imagine or remember or perceive anything except in temporal sequence. Even when you think about timeless truths, like mathematical equations, the thinking itself happens in time, moment by moment. Your mind is thoroughly temporal, and perhaps it is impossible for you to know whether reality itself shares this temporal character, or whether time is simply the form your mind uses to organize experience. As your thoughts become slower and more diffuse, as the boundary between waking and sleeping becomes less distinct, you might notice that your sense of time becomes less precise. How long have you been lying here? The question becomes difficult to answer. Time has become more fluid, less structured. This is natural as consciousness shifts from its waking mode toward sleep. The tight organization of time loosens. Moments flow together. The distinction between past and present and future becomes less sharp. In dreams, time becomes even more fluid. Events that would take hours in waking life happen in moments. You might experience years passing in a single night's dream. Cause and effect become tangled. You might remember things in the dream that never happened in waking life. The future might appear before the past. Time, in dreams, does not follow the rules it follows in waking consciousness. This suggests something important about the relationship between time and consciousness. The structure of time seems to depend on the state of consciousness. Different states of consciousness experience time differently. The experience of time also varies with attention and emotion. When you are engaged in something absorbing, time seems to fly by. Hours pass like minutes. But when you are bored or waiting, time drags. Minutes feel like hours. And in moments of danger or intense emotion, time can seem to slow down dramatically. People sometimes report that time seemed to freeze during an accident, that everything moved in slow motion. These variations in experienced time are not illusions exactly. They are genuine features of how consciousness relates to time, how the mind structures and experiences duration. Some philosophers and mystics have spoken of experiencing a kind of timeless eternity, a state of consciousness where time seems to stop or dissolve. In deep meditation or mystical experiences, they report The usual sense of past and future falls away, and there is only an eternal present, an infinite now that does not move or flow, but simply is. Whether such experiences reveal something about the true nature of time, or are simply alterations in how consciousness processes temporal experience, remains unclear. But they suggest that our ordinary experience of time, with its clear distinction between past, present, and future, is not the only possible way to experience duration and change. As you rest here in the gentle darkness, you might catch glimpses of this more fluid relationship to time. When you are not actively thinking about the past or future, when you simply rest in present awareness, time becomes less insistent, less demanding. It is still there, of course. Your breath continues its rhythm, thoughts drift by, sensations arise and pass. But the sense of time as something pressing, something flowing rapidly, something carrying you along. Whether you are ready or not, this can soften. Time becomes more like a gentle current than a rushing river. The question of whether time had a beginning has puzzled philosophers and theologians for centuries. Did time itself come into being at some point, or has time always existed, stretching infinitely far back into the past? If time had a beginning, what came before that beginning? But if time is infinite into the past, how did we ever reach the present moment? Both options seem problematic in their own way. Modern physics suggests that time began with the Big Bang, that the universe and time itself came into existence together some 14 billion years ago. Before that, there was no before. Time itself did not exist. This is a strange idea to wrap your mind around, the idea that time itself has not always existed. We are so used to thinking of time as the background against which everything happens that it is hard to imagine time itself beginning. But if time is bound up with space and matter and energy, if it is part of the physical universe rather than something that contains the universe, then it makes sense that time would begin when the universe begins. There is no time before time, just as there is no north of the North Pole. The question of what came before the Big Bang might be like asking, what is north of the northernmost point? The question itself assumes a framework that does not apply. Whether time will have an end is equally mysterious. Will the universe continue expanding forever, with time stretching endlessly into the future? Or will time itself eventually come to an end, either when the universe stops expanding and collapses back in on itself, or when the universe reaches some maximum state of entropy and nothing can change anymore? If change is essential to time, as Aristotle suggested, then perhaps time cannot exist without change. In a universe where nothing ever changes, where everything has reached perfect equilibrium, would time still be passing? Or would time itself have ended, not by being destroyed, but by having nothing left to measure? These questions about the beginning and end of time are perhaps too abstract to trouble you now, as you lie here on the edge of sleep. Let them simply drift through your awareness without grabbing hold of them, without trying to solve them. They are questions that may have no answers, or at least no answers we can reach from our position within time. We are creatures of time, living in time, thinking in time. The nature of time in its totality may be beyond our grasp, just as a character in a novel cannot fully understand the book in which they appear. There is a certain peace in accepting this limitation, in acknowledging that some mysteries are too large for us to solve. Time continues its flow, whether we understand it or not. The universe continues its evolution, whether we can explain it or not. And you continue to move through time, moment by moment, breath by breath, not because you understand time, but simply because that is what it means to exist as a temporal being, as a creature who lives in time and is shaped by time and will eventually be taken by time. The circularity of time is another idea that has appeared in various philosophical and religious traditions. Instead of thinking of time as a line stretching from past to future, some have imagined time as a circle, endlessly repeating. The ancient Greeks spoke of the great year, a cosmic cycle that eventually returns to its beginning and starts over. Friedrich Nietzsche imagined eternal recurrence, the idea that the entire universe might repeat itself infinitely, with every event happening over and over forever. Your life, in this view, has been lived countless times before and will be lived countless times again, in exactly the same way each time. This idea might seem oppressive at first, the thought of being trapped in an endless cycle of repetition. But Nietzsche suggested it as a test of one's attitude toward life. If you knew you would have to live your life exactly as it is, over and over forever, would you embrace it or despair? Can you say yes to your life as it is, to every moment of it, to every joy and every sorrow? The eternal recurrence is not meant as a factual claim about the structure of time, but as a thought experiment, a way of asking whether you can fully affirm existence, fully embrace the life you are living. But whether or not time is circular, whether or not everything repeats, there is a cyclical quality to our experience of time. Day follows, night follows day, seasons rotate, breathing in, breathing out. The heart beats in rhythm. We sleep and wake and sleep again. These cycles give structure to time, create patterns and predictability. They allow us to orient ourselves, to know where we are in the flow of time. Without these cycles, time might feel formless, directionless, impossible to navigate. Your own body is following its cycles right now. The cycle of wakefulness, giving way to sleep. The cycle of tension, releasing into relaxation. The cycle of active thought, quieting into drift and dream. These are natural rhythms, ancient patterns that your body knows without being taught. You do not need to force them or control them. You simply allow them to unfold. Allow your body and mind to follow the cycles they have followed countless times before, moving naturally from day toward night, from waking toward sleeping, from thought toward rest. The present moment is always becoming the past, but the past is not simply lost. It leaves traces, memories, effects that continue into the present. Every present moment is shaped by all the moments that came before it. You are who you are because of your history, because of all the experiences you have had, all the choices you have made, all the people you have known. The past is not nothing. It has created the present. It has made you who you are right now. And the present is creating the future, is planting seeds that will grow into tomorrow and next week and next year. This connection between past, present, and future means that time is not just a series of disconnected moments, but a continuous process, a flow where everything is linked to everything else. You cannot understand the present without reference to the past. You cannot make sense of the future without understanding the present. Time is a web of relationships, each moment connected to the moments around it in a complex network of cause and effect, of influence and consequence. As your mind continues to quiet, continues to release its grip on waking consciousness, you might sense this interconnectedness in your own experience. The thoughts you are having now are shaped by thoughts you had earlier. The relaxation you feel now is the result of tension released moments ago. The sleepiness gathering around you is the culmination of the day you have lived. Everything flows into everything else. Past becomes present, becomes future in one seamless movement. The question of free will is intimately connected with the nature of time. If the future is open and undetermined, then perhaps we have the freedom to shape it, to make real choices that create new possibilities. But if the future is already fixed, already determined by the past and the laws of nature, then perhaps our sense of choosing is illusory, and we are simply following a path that was always going to unfold exactly as it does. This tension between freedom and determinism has troubled philosophers for centuries, and it remains unresolved. But perhaps the question of free will is too large to settle tonight. Whatever the truth about freedom and determinism might be, you still have the experience of choosing, of deciding, of directing your attention one way rather than another. And right now, you can choose to let go, to stop trying to control, to allow sleep to come when it will. This choosing to not choose, this deciding to simply allow, is itself a kind of freedom, a freedom from the burden of constant effort and control. Time is also deeply connected to identity and change. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago. Your body has changed, your thoughts have changed, your circumstances have changed, and yet there is continuity, a sense that you are still you despite all these changes. What makes you the same person over time? Is it memory? Is it the physical continuity of your body? Is it some unchanging core of self that persists through all change? These questions about personal identity over time are another dimension of time's mystery. Perhaps there is no single answer, no simple essence that makes you who you are. Perhaps your identity is more like a river, constantly changing and yet maintaining a recognizable form, flowing continuously, even though the water is always different. You are the pattern, not the substance. You are the process, not the thing. You are the flow itself, the movement through time, the succession of moments linked by memory and causation into something that we call a person, a self, an identity. This view of identity as process rather than substance might be liberating. If you are not a fixed thing, but a flowing process, then you are always becoming, always evolving, always capable of change. The person you were yesterday need not be the person you are tomorrow. The patterns can shift. The flow can take new channels. You are not stuck being who you have been. You are free to become something new, moment by moment, choice by choice, day by day. As you sink deeper into the borderland between waking and sleeping, time itself becomes less clear, less structured. How long have you been here? It is hard to say. Time has become elastic, stretched out and compressed at the same time. This is how time feels at the edge of sleep, when consciousness is releasing its grip on the waking world and beginning the transition into dreams. The strict boundaries of clock time dissolve. Experience flows more freely, governed by its own rhythms rather than by the external measures of hours and minutes. In some sense, all of your existence happens in the present moment. Even when you remember the past or imagine the future, you are doing that, remembering and imagining. Now, in this moment, the content of your experience might be about past or future, but the experience itself is always present. You are always here, always now, even as the now continuously transforms, continuously becomes a new now. This is the paradox of the present, that it is always changing and yet always the same, always now, even though now is always different from the now that came before. Some philosophers have suggested that we should think of time not as a container that holds events, but as the events themselves, the succession of changes that constitute reality. Time is not something separate from the things that happen in time. Time is the happening itself, the unfolding of events, the process of change. Without events, without change, there would be no time. Time is nothing other than the fact that things happen in sequence, that one state of affairs gives way to another, that the universe evolves and transforms rather than remaining static and unchanging. This view makes time inseparable from reality, from the physical universe and all the processes and changes that occur within it. Time is not a backdrop against which the universe plays out its drama. Time is the drama itself, the playing out, the unfolding of reality moment by moment. And you are part of this drama, part of this unfolding, one small thread in the vast tapestry of cosmic time, moving through your own particular sequence of moments, experiencing your own particular slice of the universe's evolution. The silence of the night is deep now. Your breathing has slowed to its sleeping rhythm. Thoughts have become sparse and fragmentary. The questions about time that seemed so important when we began have faded into the background, no longer demanding answers, content to simply be held gently in awareness without resolution. Time continues its flow, carrying you further into relaxation, further into the peaceful darkness of approaching sleep. Perhaps time is many things at once. Perhaps it is both objective and subjective, both physical and mental, both flow and structure, both real and in some sense illusory. Perhaps the different philosophical views each capture something true while missing something else. Time might be too rich, too complex, too fundamental to reality and consciousness to be fully captured by any single theory or metaphor. It is the medium in which we live, the dimension we cannot escape, the framework that makes experience possible. And like consciousness itself, time remains mysterious even as it remains intimately familiar. You have been moving through time since the moment you were born, and you will continue moving through time until the moment you die. This is not something you chose or can control. It is simply the nature of existence for beings like us, temporal creatures who live in succession, who remember and anticipate, who experience before and after, earlier and later, past and future. We are time-bound, time-shaped, time-constituted. To be human is to be temporal, to exist in time and through time and as time. And yet, there are moments, rare and precious moments, when time seems to open up, to become spacious and eternal, in deep absorption, in moments of beauty or connection or insight. The usual rush of time can slow or even seem to stop. These moments do not last, of course. Time continues its flow. But they remind us that our relationship to time is not fixed, that consciousness can experience time in different ways, that the quality of time can change depending on the quality of our attention and awareness. Right now, in this quiet space, time has become very gentle, very soft. There is no hurry, no rush, no pressure to be anywhere other than here. The future can wait. The past is settled and done. Only this moment requires your attention, and even that only lightly, without strain or effort. You can simply rest in the flow of time, allowing it to carry you where it will, trusting that sleep will come when it is ready, that consciousness will shift into its sleeping mode in its own time, following rhythms deeper than thought or will. The mystery of time will remain a mystery. Philosophers will continue to debate whether time is real or illusory, whether it flows or simply is, whether it had a beginning or is eternal. But these debates need not concern you now. Time is what it is, and you are moving through it, or with it, or as it, moment by moment, breath by breath, thought by thought, sensation by sensation. The philosophical questions can wait for another time. Right now, there is only this gentle drift toward sleep, this slow dissolution of waking consciousness into dreams. Let time do what it does. Let it carry you forward, carry you deeper, carry you down into the quiet darkness where sleep waits patiently. Time brought you here to this moment of rest. Time will carry you through the night. Time will bring you to tomorrow's waking. But all of that is time's business, not yours. Your business is simply to rest, to release, to allow, to let go. Time will take care of itself. The universe will take care of itself. You can simply rest now, simply be, simply allow consciousness to soften and fade and transform into sleep. Trust in time to continue its ancient rhythm, its endless flow, its mysterious passage that has carried countless beings before you and will carry countless beings after you, that carries you now toward rest, toward peace, toward sleep. The flow continues. The present moment continues to become the past. The future continues to arrive as present. But you need not track these changes anymore. You need not follow time's flow with your attention. You can simply surrender to it. Simply let it carry you. Simply rest in the eternal, now that it is always here, always present, always available, even as everything changes, even as time flows on. There is something profound about the way time holds everything. Every moment of your life exists within time, is shaped by time, is made possible by time. The first breath you took as an infant, the last thought you will have before death, and every experience in between, all of this happens in time, through time, as time. Time is the medium of existence for creatures like us, the water in which we swim, the air we breathe. We cannot step outside of it, cannot view it from an external perspective. We are always within time, always moving through it, always experiencing it from the inside. And yet time does not feel like a prison or a constraint. It feels like the natural order of things, the way reality unfolds, the rhythm of existence itself. You do not wish you could escape time any more than you wish you could escape space or consciousness or being. Time is simply the way things are, the structure within which life happens, the framework that makes change and growth and experience possible. Without time, there could be no stories, no development, no evolution from one state to another. Everything would be frozen, static, unchanging. Time is what allows the universe to have a history, to unfold, to become. The ancient philosopher Heraclitus, whom we mentioned earlier, had another famous saying about time and change. He said that everything flows like a river, that nothing remains the same, that you cannot step into the same river twice because both you and the river are constantly changing. This image captures something essential about time's nature. Time is flow, is movement, is constant transformation. The you who began reading or listening to these words is not quite the same you who is here now. Moments have passed. Cells in your body have died and been replaced. Thoughts have come and gone. You have aged, however slightly. Everything flows, everything changes, everything moves through time. But there is also something that remains constant through all this change. You are still you, despite all the transformations. The river is still the river, even though the water has moved on. There is continuity in the midst of flux, identity persisting through change. This paradox of permanence and change, of identity and transformation, is one of the deep mysteries of time. How can something change and yet remain the same? How can you be both the child you were decades ago and the adult you are now? How does identity persist through time's flow? Perhaps the answer lies in patterns rather than substances. You are not a thing, but a pattern, a configuration, a way that matter and energy are organized. And patterns can persist even as the underlying material changes. The pattern of a wave can travel across the ocean, while the water itself mostly stays in place. The pattern of a flame can remain stable, while the particular molecules burning are constantly being replaced. Similarly, the pattern that is you, the organization of your body, and mind, and memories, and habits, can persist through time, even as the specific atoms and cells and thoughts are constantly changing. This view of identity as pattern rather than substance fits well with our experience of time. You are not a static object sitting in time, but a dynamic process unfolding through time. You are a verb more than a noun, a happening more than a thing, a continuous becoming rather than a fixed being. And this process, this pattern, this flowing organization is what persists through time, what links your past to your present to your future, what makes you recognizably you despite all changes. Your body knows about time in ways your conscious mind might not fully grasp. Every cell in your body operates according to rhythms, cycles, temporal patterns that have been refined over millions of years of evolution. Your heart beats in regular rhythm. Your lungs expand and contract in tempo. Your metabolism follows daily cycles. Your cells divide and reproduce according to schedules. All of this biological timekeeping happens without your conscious awareness or control. Your body is a symphony of temporal processes, all coordinated, all synchronized, all flowing together in remarkable harmony. And right now, as you lie here in the darkness, your body is following its ancient rhythms toward sleep. Melatonin is being released, signaling that it is time for rest. Your core temperature is dropping slightly. Your brain waves are slowing from the rapid beta waves of waking consciousness toward the slower alpha and theta waves of drowsiness and light sleep. All of these changes are orchestrated by your body's internal clock, its circadian rhythm that has evolved to match the 24-hour cycle of day and night. Your body knows it is time to sleep, and it is gently preparing for that transition, following patterns that are older than humanity, older than mammals, older than complex life itself. This biological time exists alongside the time of physics and the time of consciousness. There are many times, many ways of measuring and experiencing duration and change. The physicist's time, measured in precise units, calibrated by atomic clocks. The body's time, measured in heartbeats and breath cycles and hormonal rhythms. The mind's time, elastic and subjective, expanding and contracting based on attention and emotion. And perhaps there is also cosmic time, the vast unfolding of the universe from the Big Bang to whatever end awaits it, a timescale so large that human lifetimes are like single heartbeats in the life of the cosmos. All of these times are real, all of them valid ways of understanding duration and sequence and change, and you participate in all of them simultaneously. You are a physical being subject to the laws of physics and the arrow of entropy. You are a biological being subject to evolutionary rhythms and genetic programs. You are a conscious being subject to the subjective flow of experience and the construction of narrative identity. And you are a cosmic being, made of atoms forged in ancient stars, participating in the universe's long journey from simple to complex, from order to entropy, from beginning toward ending. The philosopher Martin Heidegger suggested that human beings are fundamentally temporal creatures, beings for whom time is not just a background condition, but a central feature of existence. We are always oriented toward the future, always projecting ourselves forward, always concerned with what will happen next and what we will do and who we will become. This future-directedness is part of what makes us human. Animals live largely in the present, responding to immediate stimuli and following instinctual patterns. But humans dwell in time, in the full scope of past, present, and future, always remembering and always anticipating, always interpreting the present in light of what has been and what might be. This temporal existence shapes everything about us, our hopes and fears, our plans and regrets, our sense of meaning and purpose. All of these are fundamentally temporal. We find meaning not in isolated moments, but in narratives that stretch through time, stories with beginnings and middles and ends, arcs of development and growth and change. Your life is not just a series of disconnected nows, but a coherent story, or at least you try to make it one, linking past to present to future in ways that make sense, that create continuity, that give your existence shape and direction. But as you drift closer to sleep, this narrative self loosens its grip. The story of your life recedes into the background. Past and future become less important. There is only this gentle now, this soft present moment, this quiet space of awareness without much concern for what came before or what will come after. This is one of the gifts of sleep, this temporary release from the burden of being a temporal self, a being with a history and a future, a creature stretched across time. In sleep, you can simply be, without the weight of all that has been and all that might be. The Buddhist tradition speaks extensively about time and its relationship to suffering. They suggest that much of our suffering comes from our relationship to time, from dwelling on the past with regret or longing, from worrying about the future with anxiety or fear. The present moment, they say, is actually free from suffering if we can experience it directly, without layering it with stories about past and future. Pain might be present, discomfort might be present, but suffering, the mental anguish we add to our experience, comes from our temporal projections, our resistance to what is because of what was or what might be. There is wisdom in this observation, something you might notice in your own experience as you rest here. When you let go of thoughts about tomorrow's obligations or yesterday's regrets, when you simply rest in the present moment, there is a quality of peace, of simplicity, of basic okayness. The present moment, just as it is, without the overlay of temporal anxiety, is actually rather peaceful. Your body rests here comfortably, your breath flows easily, awareness continues quietly. All is fundamentally well in this moment, in this now. The practice of mindfulness, which has become popular in recent years, is essentially a practice of returning attention to the present moment, of noticing when the mind has wandered into past or future and gently bringing it back to now. This is not about denying time or pretending that past and future do not matter. It is simply about recognizing that you live in the present moment, that this is where life actually happens, where experience occurs, where choice is possible. The past is memory and the future is imagination, but the present is where you are, where you have always been, where you will always be. As your consciousness continues to dim, continues to release its grip on waking thought, you might notice that the present moment becomes more spacious, more open. Without the constant commentary about what this means, or where it leads, or how it connects to other things, experience becomes simpler, more direct, more immediate. There is just breathing, just the sensation of lying here, just the gentle awareness that notices everything without needing to do anything about it. This simplicity is restful, healing, exactly what is needed as sleep approaches. The question of what time is for, if anything, is another way to think about time's nature. Does time have a purpose? Is it going somewhere? The scientific view suggests that time is simply a dimension of the universe, neither purposeful nor purposeless, but simply there, a fundamental feature of reality. But humans seem unable to resist the urge to find meaning in time, to see it as moving towards something, as having direction and purpose. We create calendars and mark milestones. We celebrate beginnings and mourn endings. We speak of progress and development and growth. Perhaps this search for meaning in time is simply part of being human, part of being creatures who live in narratives and seek patterns and try to make sense of our experience. Or perhaps there is something genuinely purposeful about time, some direction or tendency that points toward greater complexity, greater consciousness, greater understanding. The universe has evolved from simple to complex, from lifeless matter to living organisms to conscious beings who can contemplate the universe itself. Is this just random chance, or is there something about time that tends toward increasing organization, increasing awareness, increasing meaning? These are questions that reach beyond what we can definitively answer, but they are pleasant questions to hold gently as consciousness fades. Questions that do not demand resolution, but simply offer something to contemplate, something to wonder about, something that connects your individual experience to the vast story of cosmic time. You are part of this story, this great unfolding, this movement through time from simple beginnings toward whatever endings or transformations await. Your life is a small chapter in this larger narrative, but it is a real chapter, a genuine contribution to the story of the universe's journey through time. The seasons offer another way to think about time, another pattern of change and recurrence. Spring gives way to summer, gives way to autumn, gives way to winter, and then the cycle begins again. These seasonal rhythms have shaped human life for as long as humans have existed, marking time not just linearly, but cyclically, not just as steady progress forward, but as recurring patterns that come around again and again. There is comfort in this cyclical view of time, this sense that endings are also beginnings, that what is lost will somehow return, that time is not just flowing away, but also coming back. Your own life has seasons too, periods of growth and periods of rest, times of activity and times of stillness, days of energy and nights of sleep. Right now, you are in the season of sleep, the time when the body rests and restores itself, when consciousness withdraws from engagement with the external world and turns inward toward dreams or deep rest. This nightly season of sleep is as essential as the daily season of waking, as necessary as autumn is to the year's cycle. Without rest, there can be no activity. Without night, there can be no day. The cycles require both poles, both phases, both movements of the rhythm. There is something deeply satisfying about surrendering to these natural rhythms, about allowing your body and mind to follow the patterns they have followed for thousands of generations. You do not need to invent sleep or figure out how to rest. The pattern is already there, woven into your biology, your neurology, your entire being. You simply need to allow it, to stop resisting it, to let the cycle complete itself as it has countless times before and will countless times again. The medieval philosophers spent considerable time thinking about time's relationship to eternity. Eternity, they said, is not just endless time, not just time going on forever and ever. True eternity is timelessness, a state where time does not pass at all, where there is no succession or sequence or change. God, in their view, exists in eternity, experiencing all of time simultaneously, seeing past and present and future all at once in a single eternal now. This is hard for us to imagine, being creatures who can only experience one moment at a time, who are stuck in the flow of time. But perhaps in certain moments, in deep meditation or profound absorption or dreamless sleep, we catch glimpses of something like timelessness, something like eternal presence. Whether such timelessness actually exists beyond our temporal universe is unknown and perhaps unknowable from our position within time. But the concept itself is interesting to contemplate. This idea of a state beyond time, a perspective from which all of time is visible at once. It suggests that our temporal experience, our movement through time, moment by moment, might not be the only way reality can be experienced, might not be the ultimate truth about existence. There might be other modes of being, other ways of relating to time that we cannot access, but that are nonetheless real. These philosophical speculations can drift through your mind like clouds, present but not demanding, there but not insistent. They are thoughts to hold lightly, ideas to contemplate gently, questions that do not need answers right now. The important thing is not to resolve these mysteries, but to let them be, to allow them to exist in your awareness without grasping at them, without trying to pin them down or figure them out completely. Mystery is restful when we stop fighting it, when we accept that some things will remain unknown, will remain open questions, will remain larger than our ability to comprehend. Time is carrying you deeper into relaxation now, deeper into the borderlands of sleep. The minutes are passing, though you may have lost track of how many. Clock time has become irrelevant. Only experiential time matters now. The felt sense of duration, the gentle progression from waking toward sleeping. And this progression is happening naturally, effortlessly, requiring nothing from you except permission, except the willingness to let go, to stop holding on to waking consciousness, to allow the transition to complete itself. Every culture has its own ways of marking time, of organizing it, of giving it meaning. Some cultures think of time as cyclical, others as linear. Some emphasize the past and tradition, others the future and progress. Some move quickly through clock time, others more slowly. But all humans live in time. All experience duration and change and sequence. All have some sense of before and after, earlier and later, past and future. This universal human experience of time suggests that time is not merely a cultural construction, but a fundamental feature of consciousness itself, perhaps even of reality itself. And yet, our particular way of experiencing time is shaped by culture, by language, by habit, by technology. The invention of mechanical clocks changed how people relate to time, making it more precise, more regulated, more controlled. The modern world moves faster than the ancient world, packs more activity into less time, creates constant pressure to hurry, to rush, to keep up. But here, now in this quiet space, you can step outside that rushed relationship to time. You can let time slow down, stretch out, become more spacious. You can return to a more natural relationship with time, the time of breath and heartbeat, of day and night, of waking and sleeping. This slowing down of time is itself restful. When you are not rushing, not hurrying toward the next thing, time becomes more generous, more abundant. There is enough time. There is always enough time to breathe, to rest, to simply be. The pressure and urgency that characterize so much of modern life can be released. There is nowhere you need to go right now, nothing you need to do, no schedule to keep. Time is yours to inhabit however you wish, and what you wish right now is simply to rest, to allow sleep to come, to surrender to the natural rhythm of waking and sleeping that has governed human life since the beginning. The Greeks had two words for time, chronos and kairos. Chronos is chronological time, sequential time, time measured by clocks and calendars. It is quantitative, objective, the same for everyone. Kairos, by contrast, is the right time, the opportune moment, time experienced qualitatively rather than quantitatively. It is the sense that now is the time for something, that this moment has a particular quality or significance that makes it different from other moments. Kairos is subjective, personal, the feeling that time has opened up a special possibility. Perhaps right now is a kairos moment for you, the right time for sleep, the opportune moment for rest. Not just because the clock says it is late, though it does, but because your body and mind are ready, are calling for rest, are prepared to make the transition from waking to sleeping. The quality of this moment is sleep ready. Everything is aligned. The conditions are right. This is the time for rest, and your whole being knows it, responds to it, moves naturally toward it. Let yourself be carried by this rightness, this sense that now is the time. Trust the kairos of this moment. Your body knows what it needs. Your mind knows when to let go. Time itself is drawing you towards sleep, offering you this opportunity for rest and restoration. All you need to do is accept the invitation, allow the process to unfold, surrender to the wisdom of your own organism as it follows its ancient patterns toward the peace of sleep. Time will continue without you for these hours of sleep. The universe will go on. The world will keep turning. Other people will have their experiences, their moments, their passages through time. But for you, time will become something different, something less conscious, less intentional, less directed. In sleep, you will not be tracking time, not measuring it, not organizing it into neat sequences. You will simply be in time, moving through it unconsciously, letting it carry you through dreams and deep rest until morning brings you back to waking awareness. And this is fine. This is how it should be. You do not need to be conscious every moment. You do not need to track every second. Time takes care of itself. Your body takes care of itself. The universe takes care of itself. Your only task is to rest, to release, to allow, to let go completely into the gentle darkness of sleep, trusting that time will bring you safely through the night to tomorrow's waking, trusting that consciousness will return when it needs to, trusting that all is well and all will be well in the eternal flow of time that carries everything forward, that holds everything gently, that never stops and never needs to, flowing on and on in its mysterious way, this river of time in which we all swim, this current that carries us from birth to death and through every moment in between. Rest now. Rest completely. Rest in time. Rest as time. Rest with time. Let time hold you. Let time carry you. Let time bring you to sleep. The flow continues. The river moves on, and you move with it, peacefully, gently, naturally, toward the rest that waits, toward the sleep that comes, toward the darkness that embraces, toward the peace that is always here, always available, always now.